So check this out. Poll. Trump's own voters begin blaming him for the affordability crisis. And effectively, people go to the store, they know how much stuff costs, right? People go to buy something, say during Christmas and the holiday seasons, they know how much stuff costs. Things are too expensive. And you get more Trump people starting to like, oh my God, this is Trump's economy. This is Trump. And there was a key number in here in this recent poll, which I want to share with you because it relates to everything. Basically, Americans are saying this is the worst they've ever seen. So here's the actual number. It says almost half, 46%, say the cost of living in the United States is the worst they can ever remember it being. And I'll repeat, basically people saying it's the worst they've ever seen, right? Almost half say that the cost of living in the US is the worst they can ever remember it being. And I want to hear from people right now. Do you agree with that? I know there's a lot of older people, though, that might say, hey, man, 70s, 80s are pretty awful as well. I'll just say this. I lived through the great financial crisis. I lived through the dot-com bubble. I know how ugly things can get. Effectively, when things cost too much and you can't get a job anywhere, it's awful, right? And you're getting half the people, like roughly half the people saying that. Then in terms of Trump voters, 37% are saying that now. Again, things cost too much. And then you're getting about roughly half of the same number. 46% are saying this is Trump's economy and Trump's administration is responsible for this stuff. When you look at what Trump tries to do in their administration or whoever you want to say, they try to just blame the media. For real. That's their, thing they always deflect to. Oh, don't believe that story about costs. Oh, don't believe that story about unemployment, right? It's bad when that's their only argument they can make is, oh, the media is just telling lies. And this is why I always tell you the same thing. You know how much stuff costs. You know. Don't let someone tell you. You know how much work pays. You know if work is hiring or not. You should know for yourself. And I try to just give you national numbers and stuff like that. Or, big news of big companies, which we're going to talk about in a moment here, be it Apple and Meta, what they're up to. And then I like to share with you guys in the community because we verify things. Hey, I heard it work or I saw for myself kind of stuff. Because if you look at the White House, like, they just tweet out nonsense nonstop. That's their communication. Daddy's home for the holidays. So I guess Trump in a Santa hat. And then while Trump's doing, AI cosplay, Noam is out doing cosplay like in real life here. She's dressed up like a park ranger, riding horses, and they want to say, yeah, we're going to deport everyone. Right? This is their messaging today. And then they tell you how you're all going to be rich because I guess, according to them, this is the largest tax refund season in American history. And my first reaction to that was like, I bet Elon Musk is getting all that money. So it might be true. This actually might be true. But, the average person is not going to see that much compared to someone like an Elon Musk. And then you check in, like, say, the economic news, which I like to go with you every day. Here it is from MarketWatch. We fear people will end up in financial trouble. Americans will spend a record $20 billion via buy now, pay later during the holidays. Basically, people don't have the cash, and yet they're still shopping. Because remember, this is what the American economy is all based on, is consumers keep buying stuff. So what are they using this buy now, pay later stuff to buy? It says electronics, apparel, toys, furniture, right? These kind of things. This is more the wants than the needs. But they also mentioned, too, that people are using it for daily expenses. So it's a combination of both, right? This is when this stuff first started out. It was like that kind of stuff. But then you start talking about they're using it for other stuff. Let me read something here that I thought was fascinating. It says the plans can surprise shoppers with high interest rates with APRs anywhere between 9.99% and 35.99%, along with late fees if the payments are missed or stretched beyond the designated window. Quote, a lot of people will get into a BNPL transaction without realizing the ramifications. Effectively, what's going on is these things were supposed to be kind of consumer type stuff, right? Electronics or whatever, but they're starting to use it more for regular purchases. And then the interest rates are really high, and then you got late fees. And in my opinion, this is why you want regulations, because companies will just absolutely fleece people. And I think you know this. This is part of living in the USA. And if you've never been to the USA, because I know our community actually is outside the USA. If you ever go to the USA, I'll just be frank with you guys. You go to certain communities, more lower income, you're going to see a lot of liquor stores, so alcohol. You'll see a lot of pawn shops, so basically you can sell stuff there. And then you'll see a lot of like these check cashing kind of places. So basically, it's like, it's hard to say it. It's kind of like a loan shark, I guess you could describe it. They can charge you crazy high interest rates, and then you can, get a short-term loan from them based on if you have a job or not, whatever. But you get way behind, and then you have more ways to get way behind, which is be it your buy now, pay later thing. And it's just ugly out there. I'll just be frank. And I know it's not fun to talk about this stuff, but I want to tell you the truth because, this is the stuff that Trump people get really mad at. That's why they get mad at, anyone in the media or whatever that tells you what's going on. And, don't rely on just one source. That's why we look at multiple things. So for example, they're talking to this Financial Times, talking to people over, say, at Dollar General or Dollar Tree or Kroger, right? Grocery stores and basically discount stores. And they're saying like, hey, more wealthy consumers are now coming through the doors. You can just see it. It says Americans head to dollar stores as affordability crunch pinches consumers. And that's where their growth has been. It's just, people from upper incomes are now going to dollar stores. But these kind of stores aren't even dollar stores anymore. It said, I'll tell you, it says Dollar Tree said 85% of the sales during the quarter were priced at $2 or less, meaning that some of these things are going to be $2, right? So I was like, oh, okay. This is also more, it says Todd Vassos, Dollar General Chief Executive, told analysts on Thursday that a, quote, wide range of customers drove sales in its latest quarter and noted, quote, disproportionate growth coming from higher income households as customer counts rose, right? I mean, you can see right there. So this is the state of USA where people are now, more people are going to these kind of things. And then, I like to show you what Trump tries to do. So to get you from not thinking about how much stuff costs, he'll go after his political opponents. So this is Letitia James. He was trying to go after her. I think it's the real estate thing. And it says grand jury rejects new indictment for Letitia James. So basically it didn't work. And this is from her attorney. It says the Justice Department could make a third attempt to indict James. Yeah, they could. Quote, the grand jury's refusal to re-indict Attorney General James is a decisive rejection of a case that should never have existed in the first place. And that's coming from her defense attorney, Abby Lowell. Now, while that's going on, Trump's like, okay, so the economy's in the gutter. People are broke. Everything's too expensive. So I guess the only way now to try to win the election is to basically cheat. And we're going to try to redraw the maps. The Supreme Court just came out with a decision. I'll just read the headline. Supreme Court to allow Texas to use new congressional maps and win for Republicans. So there's that. And we'll see what other states decide to do. I'll just say this. I think it could get really, really ugly. But show up to the polls, right? Regardless of what the maps end up being, show up to the polls, come out in, overwhelming numbers. And they can't, they can't deny it. They can't do this in every single state. And the way that the thing is trending, don't take it for granted, but I'll just say this. People can see what if there's food on their table or not. I'll just put it that way. It's the easiest way to describe it. What's interesting, though, is then when you look at big companies, like I say, look at more than one thing, they're shifting their strategies around. So I guess now we're all talking about AI. This is Meta, Mark Zuckerberg and the team. It says, Meta set to slash spending on metaverse as Zuckerberg shifts focus to AI. And it's like, of course he is. Whatever's hot. And I remember when they were doing the whole, what do you call it? Metaverse thing. It's like he did a bunch of demos, how we're all going to go to work and we have these avatars and such. And I just never want to wear the heavy goggles. I think they're going to be doing chat bots. They want to do AI glasses, which is slightly different than the goggles. I'll read what it says. It says, Meta has set out plans to meaningfully cut back its metaverse efforts next year. So again, they're changing focus. Could be as high as 30% cuts. So that'll be different jobs and things will be affected. I guess some investors like that. And then it says the social media titan is now pouring billions of dollars into hiring top AI research talent. So again, this is where the bubble is. Building costly infrastructure to support plans. So that's going to be your data centers and such. To develop, quote, personal super intelligence. That's their goal. While Zuckerberg hopes will be smarter than humans, this includes developing open source AI models, chatbots with Meta's suite of apps, and the AI glasses that he believes, that would be Zuckerberg, will replace smartphones as ubiquitous computing platform. So that might be true. I don't think we're quite there yet, but it might be true. So instead of having to carry your phone around, why not just wear glasses? And theoretically, we could all be wearing those. As long as you make them lightweight and make them look cool, people may go for that. Maybe someday in the future, we're going to be wearing contacts, these kind of things. And I'll just say this, like because I'm not against technology. Sometimes the Tesla fanboys say, "Oh, Chris, you just hate Tesla." But it's like, no, I actually do like tech. I just don't like con artists and frauds. If Meta can make glasses to where, I could look at anything in my environment and, push a button and it can basically do a Google search on something I'm looking at, that'd be pretty cool. But I think we're still pretty far away from that. You have issues where then you're going to have to tie up a SIM card or some sort of data transfer, to the glasses. So I would still have to have, you guys know how this works. I'd still have to have two devices on. It's kind of like you can buy, say, a smartwatch now, but if you want your watch to connect to the internet, basically the watch would either need a separate sort of SIM card type thingy or connect to your phone. Same way with the tablet, right? So the glasses thing, a lot of this stuff then becomes about size. How can you pack all the technology in to be useful? And we'll see. And it's got to be lightweight. It's got to look cool. Otherwise, I'm not wearing it. That's and I think we're still a long ways away from that. And that's just in terms of the glasses thing. Apple announced the departure of general counsel and policy chief. And when I saw this, it was fascinating because if you guys saw my video just yesterday, I mentioned this before. Over on my Substack, I just wrote an article about Apple. Please check it out if you can. But long story short, phones are really expensive because I was like, I need to get a new phone. I'm starting to notice, battery life problems and my phone's starting to slow down. It's just time to get a new one. And I like flippy phones myself. My favorite phone ever was the Motorola Razr. If you guys know, it's just like playing with a Star Trek communicator. I love that phone. After that, I had a Lollipop, which is pretty cool. If you guys know what these phones are, they're really popular in Korea. I think that was an LG phone. But I really like the flippy stuff. And, I looked at possibly get an Apple one. It's going to be like $2,000. And then Samsung's like, they want to put out a new trifold phone. That was just announced a couple of days ago. That's going to be like $2,000. And it's just like ridiculously expensive. And then you have Apple. So what I'm saying is Apple's releasing these, and it's not Apple, many of these companies are releasing these products that are just not really designed for the, average consumer, that they're just going for more upmarket because that's the only people that are buying stuff. And then their people are leaving. So, these kind of people, they'd be tied to government policies, be it, try to get stuff with the Trump people or defending lawsuits, anti-monopoly, this kind of stuff, or trying to set a better image regarding, hiring practices or, more diversity at work or environmental stuff. But these are actually really important employees. That's why it's part of the exec team. And so Apple's losing a couple key employees. They're also losing a couple designers. That was just recently. It says Apple design chief joins Meta amid AI hardware talent exodus. And then there was rumors then, would Meta then, if you start ripping people from Apple, basically, or poaching, if you want to say it, are they really going to get more heavily into the hardware business? Or you'll have some people from Apple just like, hey, I'm leaving and I'm going to go do my own AI thing. That's where we're at. And on top of that, like, it's hard to, trust anything that's going on these days. And I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. This was a really interesting one. We don't talk about this that much. Trustpilot. If you guys know this website, anytime you Google something, is a product good or can I trust a website or whatever, you may see this website come up called Trustpilot. And so it's like a review site. I've known all along that there might be some sketchy stuff going on with this thing. It turns out I'm probably right. Short seller says Trustpilot shares plummet after short seller alleges mafia-style practices. Basically, pay up and maybe you'll get better reviews kind of thing. And I wouldn't be shocked if that is indeed happening. So the stock went down. So the market, I guess, believes it, that maybe these things are happening. And it matters. Like for any of this stuff that we talk about, guys, on a daily basis, I think the average person just wants to, hey, tell me what's going on. Be honest with me. I understand that some people don't like the truth when you get into some more, sensitive topics or whatever. But, something like this, like just for example, if you're going to go out and buy a dishwasher, you want to be able to check reviews and make sure the dishwasher is trustworthy. Make sure a business, if you're going to, buy a dishwasher from said company, how do you check that? Make sure that's trustworthy. And so it's not great when you find out that some of these companies may have some sort of sleazy tactics, I could say. Like, hey, you got to subscribe to our website and we'll help you get better reviews. And this is another reason why you want regulations. So sometimes, not sometimes, all the time, the way Trump and Musk talk, they always say, we don't need no regulations. Regulations hold us back, et cetera, right? And they really hate consumer protections that Trump and Musk do. And so I always bring this one up because this actually matters quite a bit. It's important. They say, for example, you go to whatever electronics store or clothing store, whatever, you're going to go buy something, and that customer reviews that you read are actually real and not bots and all fake. right? And you'd actually would want that stuff regulated, because if there's no regulation at all, then you can't trust anything of any product ever. And that matters. To me, it matters. I think it matters quite a bit. And this is part of sort of this navigating this crazy world that we're in. And then you add into where everyone's developing AI and you can put out fake stuff even faster. It gets even more and more difficult to navigate stuff on the internet. So my opinion on any of these things is, I know that many towns out there are now using, basically fake AI, what do I say, like misleading photos. It'll look real, but it's completely not real, be it with facial expressions or otherwise. I'm really against that stuff. I don't believe in manipulating someone's voice or image in a way that's just not them. And it's everywhere. You call it AI slop. And I think that is going to unfortunately be a big problem in our future. And we probably should regulate that stuff for any number of ways. Just simple example, California wanted to regulate it to where, say, during election season, it's just basically lies if you can manipulate someone's image and voice to make them say things that they never said, right? It's just basically lies. And from the Elon Musk and Donald Trump point of view, it's like, oh, if you have regulations on that stuff, you're just holding back innovation. It's just stupid. I know what to say, but that's why you have to explain it to people, because maybe you never thought about these things before. And if you're in that Musk and Trump cult, you say, oh yeah, I hate regulations too. I hate consumer protections. I want companies to cheat me. And all right, I mean, that's why I got to lay this stuff out for you. So yeah, if Trustpilot is end up doing the wrong thing, sure. Or if, for example, if there's lies about Trustpilot, have them, have the ability to prove said things. So we really need to be vigilant and sort of say always stay hardworking into protecting ourselves from this post-truth world that we're in. So that's my thoughts on this. I'd like to hear yours, and I'll catch you on the next video.